Well, you're in a plastic bag.
Welcome to Roughing It with Ruth. I'm on a mission to find cheap backpacking gear so that backpacking can be more accessible for everyone. While you're watching these videos, please remember that the cheapest way to start out backpacking is not to spend any money at all, and rather to try and borrow some backpacking gear. This will give you the chance to try it out without spending your hard-earned cash. So don't go out and buy something just because you saw it in this video.
So this is my next purchase on the budget backpacking gear project. There is a little bit of traffic going in the street. I hope it doesn't disturb the video too much, but I have a new sound setup thanks very much to my awesome friends who got it for my birthday, and Ralph as well. The product that I'm going to be testing out is the Coghlans lightweight emergency shelter tube tent. It's this size when you get the package, and I bought it from Takealot in South Africa. I can't remember exactly what the price was. I will put the price somewhere on the screen here, but it was very inexpensive. But just looking at the picture on the front, I already have a couple of concerns about it. It basically looks like a tube plastic bag. It requires a ridge line, which you get with the tent. And there doesn't seem to be any sort of holding mechanism for the plastic on the ridge line. It doesn't look like the plastic has any grommets for any sort of stake outs or tie outs or anything like that. The directions that you get are very simple. Feed the cord through the tube and tie to available trees, post, car door, etc. For maximum floor width, suspend so the cord is 76 centimeters above the ground. Spread floor out as illustrated and place sleeping bags or other gear, rocks or small logs will do, to hold the side walls in place and anchor the corners. And from that description, it does seem like this tent is not going to have any tie outs at all. You have to literally put things inside of it to hold it down. So this is the tent, big plastic thing. So initially when you take it out and it's all folded up, it seems like a relatively thick plastic, but when you separate the layers, the plastic is pretty thin. I mean, I can see my hand through it. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but you can literally see light through it. This is the cord that you get with the product. The ends have been burnt so that they don't unravel. It's not paracord, it's like nylon twisted cord, something like that, a cheaper variety. On the packaging, I couldn't find anywhere where it said how long this cord is, but I'm hoping that it's going to be long enough for what I want to do. Right. So I think the important part at this stage is not to forget to thread your tent through, because it's just a tube. If you forget to thread it through your ridge line, you won't be able to set it up. So my one tie out point on that tree is a bit too high, I think. I have to admit, when working with this twisted nylon rope, it really is not good at all. It's not braided very tightly. So as you work with it and you're tying knots and making loops, it's kind of wanting to unbraid itself the whole time. So I can already see my fears about the ridgeline are coming true in terms of the tent kind of sagging down towards the middle because there's nothing to hold it out. I'm going to not really stake down but hold down the corners with rocks like the instructions suggest and see if that makes any difference. Well, this is about as good as I can get it in terms of being staked out. It's pretty flappy. I think in any kind of wind, I mean, there's the mildest breeze and it is flapping around quite a lot. In a storm situation, one thing that I did decide to try is I brought a couple of clothes pegs with me, and I'm going to see if I put some clothes pegs on the ridgeline, if that helps at all. So it hasn't made much of a difference. I've pitched it pretty low, so it's at about the height that they recommend if you want maximum width. The inside does not have that much livable space. The reason why it doesn't have a lot of livable space is because the sides are not taut and they droop in at quite a steep angle. So this is what it looks like on the inside. Not the most livable space. I could pitch it higher. For one person, that would definitely make the walls a bit steeper, maybe make things a bit better, that you'd have some sitting height. I am a little bit puzzled by the design of this particular tent because it's designed to have rocks or small logs put on the inside of it to hold down the edges. And yet it's made of fairly thin plastic, fairly non-durable plastic. It also, both sides of it are open, and it's not particularly long. And if it was raining and you just had an opening on both sides, you would definitely, your head and your feet would both get a bit damp. Despite the fact that I'm using half bricks on the inside to hold down the edges, because it's such a huge panel of plastic that catches the wind, when the wind blows, even fairly lightly, it actually tips the bricks over and kind of deforms the tent. So you'd need something really pretty heavy and possibly long, something like a log, a heavy log along the edges to hold the sides down properly. And in a storm, I'm not convinced that that would work. In a storm, I think that this structure would not hold up, really. It's not very aerodynamic, and it doesn't have good tie-out points. Even with the clothes pegs on, it also wants to drift along the ridgeline. The chances that you're going to be able to make your ridgeline perfectly flat, especially in an emergency situation, are pretty slim. So if you have any sort of slope on your ridgeline, your tent is going to want to move up and down it, which is really not ideal. I'm not going to be using this as my budget backpacking tent. It is very inexpensive, but it's not very functional, even in an emergency situation. I would rather recommend a regular top than this shelter. I suppose you could pitch it as a lean-to. In fact, I'm going to try that out. This thing is also pretty see-through, which I guess could be nice because you can look up at the stars. But if you actually wanted to use this as a backpacking tent, I hope you're an exhibitionist. This thing is just so hard to work with. I can see at least one puncture hole already. There you have a little lean-to. So yeah, the takeaway I think is that this was actually a bit of a waste of money. Even though it was so cheap, I can't use it for anything. But at least I get to carry on shopping for more budget gear, which is always great. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more about budget gear and about other outdoor adventures, then please consider subscribing to my channel.